Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Wednesday, January 3rd, 2018, and you're tuned in to episode 401 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story of the day is a piece published by the Washington Post about a bank in Maryland that has quietly taken on a large number of legal marijuana businesses as customers. This is an issue that should be familiar to regular listeners, as federal prohibitions on cannabis have kept most traditional banks away from servicing state legal marijuana businesses. The Post's story highlights Maryland's Severn Savings Bank, which has extended limited services to an unknown number of Maryland medical marijuana businesses. There are a few angles on this one besides the obvious story of any bank working with legal cannabis, but one of the more interesting ones is how limited and costly the bank services are that are offered to Severn's marijuana clients. One account holder spoke of a $3,000 fee to open an account, along with a monthly fee of just under $1,800. Account holders are also not free to write checks out of their accounts and have to provide the bank with detailed accounting and inventory management data on a daily basis. Even still, this is a beggars can't be choosers situation, as the alternative is to exist on an entirely cash basis. This is a good one to click over for the full read. Our next story swings us down south to Georgia, where the Cannabist is reporting that police recently charged 63 people with the possession of marijuana after busting a party in which cannabis was found that no one would admit to owning. Police in Cartersville, Georgia, located 40 miles outside of Atlanta, were called to a New Year's Eve party late Sunday night and arrested 63 party-goers, hitting each with a charge of possessing less than an ounce of cannabis. Police officials say they are investigating the situation. This is our second top story of the day because of how ridiculous it is. If police are going to abuse their powers, they shouldn't be able to use cannabis charges to do it with. As California embraces the sanity of legalized adult use cannabis, one of the subtle changes that the Golden State is going to see is the increased deployment of marijuana advertising. Adweek looks at a recently launched LA billboard campaign for legal cannabis run by MedMen, one of the state's larger cannabis retailers. The campaign is called Faces and features close-up photos of people with text slogans overlaid saying things like "Relax, it's legal," "Shop, it's legal," and "Play, it's legal." You get the idea. It's a whole new world. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, MJ Today Media, publishers of this podcast, our weekly show, Marijuana Today, and our ever-popular newsfeed email newsletter. With more than 20,000 people now tuning in to either one of our shows or our email newsletters, there are few places in legal marijuana in which you can reach the kind of industry movers and shakers that rely on us for news and information. But our 2018 advertising calendar is filling up fast. Get in touch with us today no matter what your budget is. We can work with everyone from small startups to established industry players. Just email advertising@mjtodaydaily.com to get started. That's advertising@mjtodaydaily.com. All right, time for the blitz. The state of Alaska just released numbers for how well their legal marijuana industry did in the month of November. The state taxes cannabis at the cultivation level with a $50 an ounce tax for flower and $15 an ounce tax on trim, combining to bring in just over $870,000 in November taxes. That's down from around $920,000 the month before. Tom Angel over Marijuana Moment has a good roundup of the various state governments that are working on marijuana legalization efforts this week. Besides Vermont, Maine, and New Hampshire, as I reported on yesterday, Delaware is also active, with the state's adult use cannabis task force meeting for the final time today. Swing over for all the details on all four states. Former heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson is getting into the legal cannabis game with the launch of a 40-acre marijuana production and cultivation center in California that's being dubbed Tyson Ranch. Plans call for the land to be developed so that outside cultivators will be able to lease space in which to grow. Open up the blast to see photos, videos, and some overhead plans of Tyson's ranch. CBS Detroit touches in on the latest developments for adult use legalization in Michigan, where 365 petition signatures were turned into state officials in November asking that adult use cannabis be made legal. To qualify, at least 252,000 of those will need to be certified as valid. If that happens, as is generally expected, state lawmakers will have a few options, including adopting the measure supported by petition signatories right away, kicking it back to voters on the November ballot, or including an alternative measure of their own design alongside the original ballot question, also in November. This is another story we'll obviously keep a close eye on. Licensed Canadian medical marijuana provider Cronos just announced that they were raising $30 million Canadian, or just under $24 million US, from the sale of stock to fund research and development, bringing the total the company has raised since 2017 up to $120 million Canadian. Marijuana Business Daily has a good story up, diving into one of the friction points that legal hemp cultivators have to deal with, stemming from the disparities from how the federal and state governments view industrial hemp, namely the availability of federally controlled irrigation water used to grow hemp plants. The U.S. Bureau of Reclamation is the nation's largest provider of irrigation water to agriculture and won't allow hemp farmers to tap into their supplies. This has left hemp cultivators high and dry, so to speak, in past years as they've watched their crops wither away due to dry natural conditions. This is a good story to be familiar with. And finally for today, Carson City, Nevada is joining in on the adult use legalization game. On Monday, adult use sales were finally legalized in the state's capital city, 6 months after the rest of Nevada started allowing medical shops to sell to non-medical customers. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. What's the best way to carve wood? Whittle by whittle. Thanks to our sponsor, MJ Today Media, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.